Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it and you could purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing one of the most sophisticated serial production Panerai watches of all time. Launched in 2008, this is the Panerai Luminor 1950 8 Days Chrono Monopulsante GMT, the PAM00311. 44 millimeters with the 1950 case in titanium. The watch sits light on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist with a thickness born as much of the vaulted plexiglass-like sapphire as of the complication, but a thickness of 19.1 millimeters and a span of 53.7 millimeters across the wrist with a 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Because this watch is lighter than a standard steel Luminor 1950 and 44 millimeters, I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. It will be comfortable and secure. Now the strap that's fitted is a bit of a deluxe piece, unexpectedly robust and substantial, whereas a conventional Panerai watch will feature a calfskin, cheaper than alligator, or rubber, cheaper still. This features alligator leather, large rectangular scale no less, with a slight contrasting ecru stitch. You could see sheer cut sides showing the layers of construction, calfskin on the underside, a Panerai factory strap made in Italy and in outstanding condition with a simple satin finished steel trapezoidal pin buckle for quick adjustment on the fly. The Luminor 1950 case, launched in 2002 on the PAM007. It evokes the 1950s Panerai reference 6152, a shape we would later come to know as the Luminor. Now, that original Luminor shape, launched in 1993 with the first Panerai civilian watches, is called the Betterini case, and it looks like this. It was designed by Officine Panerai machinist Alessandro Betterini, and it was fun, evocative, charming, and still well loved, and still in production, I should mention, but it's not quite as historically true as the 1950 case, which is just a bit more complex and, in its way, more sexy. All of satin finish, that's in good taste given the size of the watch, with the sole exception being the polished bezel. You can see there is a quick release system for the lugs, and what this does is it includes a little spring-loaded trigger on the underside and bars on the side, more secure than a spring bar system when in place. It allows you to depress the trigger using the included tools and slide the bar out, replacing this strap with any standard size 24 millimeter strap, so it's the best of both worlds. It gives you a quick release lug system, but without the mandatory proprietary strap that most quick release lug systems demand. Rolling back to the profile of the case, we have the device protecting the crown. Conceived in the 1940s by Panerai and implemented in the 1950s, it's a certifiable design icon today. Cover up the dial, you still know what this is and who made it. It looks great and it works great, with more protection for the crown than a shouldered crown guard. It's also tougher to jump into the pool or the surf with your crown unlocked, because that's harder to miss than a screw-down crown that's been turned out a few threaded rounds. Appreciate the fact that you also have a compression and release system, so there's a toroidal seal and then you compress it and you relieve it, but you don't actually screw the crown through it as you would on a watch that requires you to thread the crown in and out to wind and set. So it's also a system for maintaining the longevity of the crown seal. There's a little runner bearing inside the cam lobe that was introduced on Panerai Luminor watches post 2007, so it's even a little bit more refined in action. Now the crown has a few functions. As you can see, I can use it to wind. This is known as the dog fang style Panerai power reserve. You'll also appreciate that there is a second time zone here. We have two time zones, and this allows me to move the local or central time zone independently while the chronograph still runs and the watch keeps time with the minutes, the seconds, and the second time zone. I can also watch the seconds hand too. I can zero reset the movement. It is hacking seconds that zeros the seconds hand, so I can more easily synchronize to a known accurate reference time. Rolling over the dial, you can see that it is actually not black, but a sort of tobacco brown with a matte finish to reduce glare. It is of sandwich construction, which means it is Panerai's dial stencil featuring the calibrations, the numerals, and the indices, cut into a tobacco brown stenciled base and then placed over a full solid disc of superluminova, giving it exceptional brightness at night, but also a three-dimensional lume that is uncommon among other brands and really distinctive of Panerai. You can see the primary hands have been blackened, so only their lumed swatches are visible, and you have a second time zone coaxial with a constant seconds over at 9 o'clock. Now that AM PM allows you to read the second time zone at center and know, for example, whether we're looking at a time that is 12 minutes past 7 in the morning or 12 minutes past 7 at night. You can see because the little wedge is pointing to the AM side, we're looking at the morning. The watch does feature a mono-pusher chronograph, and it is a column wheel vertical clutch system, so you do have to reset when you push to stop, but I will also mention that it has wonderful crisp action thanks to the column wheel and wonderfully smooth action. It can start without any jump or stagger thanks to the vertical clutch, and if you wish to leave the chronograph running full time again thanks to the vertical clutch, you can do that. You can see through the case back the caliber that makes it possible, caliber P2004, Panerai manufacturer movement, 8-day power reserve, 3 mainspring barrels, 28.8 beat rate, 29 joules, full balance bridge with a free sprung index for shock resistance. You can see the column wheel visible, and the sort of image of a 1950s or 30s or 40s 3/4 style bridge as the original Panerai watches were, let's not forget, powered by Rolex and later Angelus pocket watch movements. All in titanium. You can see this watch is 100 meters water resistant, chock-a-block with mechanical refinement, and incredibly long-legged with 8 days of power reserve. This is the Panerai for the guy who doesn't want a clone watch, who doesn't want a simple watch, who's a little bit skeptical of the Panerai brand. If you're a complications fan as I am, the PAM00311 is the one for you. See it and make it yours on the watch box. The fully loomed Panerai PAM00311 by night. Note the AM/PM indicator for the second time zone is loomed, and the dog fang power reserve is loomed. It even has a little index at center so you know whether you're in the first half or the second half of the 8-day power reserve.